Hi everyone. So one of the coolest new powers for Season 27 that I would expect that would come out of this PTR is the one that makes Strafe shoot your hatred spenders. Almost everyone loves God Demon Hunter, I guess. It has been one of the most popular builds ever since it was introduced, despite not being the most powerful. So I guess that really speaks to the popularity of this kind of effect. And I tried it out here on Unhallowed Essence Multishot because that is really the only build that will really profit from this whole thing. There's one issue, and that is that, for example, on Shadows Demon Hunter, you have a dagger and you cannot actually strafe around, so you cannot use that power there. So God Demon Hunter itself obviously does damage with primary attacks, and it does already use the strafe anyway, and you shoot the generators, so there's no reason to run that. Natalia is mostly played with an N6 God 4 as well, or there's also Natalia Rapid Fire that doesn't work with the Strafe Power. So yeah, there's not really many candidates to actually make the Strafe Power work. It's mostly an Unhallowed Essence multi-shot thing. And I have to say, it actually buffs the multi-shot by a surprising amount to me. So I expected it to be a bit worse because multi-shot already has very high attack speed and you're quite mobile and you don't really have resource issues either, but you actually do speed up your runs quite a lot. The problem is that Unhallowed Essence is just such a weak set these days that it's kind of inconsequential to buff it with the rather low amount it gets. It does get a sizable bump up, like I'd say like 5 tiers or so, definitely one of the stronger seasonal powers, and that is despite it being bugged right now. So as you can see here, you can like only shoot forward with those multi-shots. It always goes in the direction that you are facing in the moment it goes off, unlike on the God Demon Hunter where your arrows automatically fly to the target that triggered the hanging arrow. So this is something that needs to be fixed, and I expect it will be fixed. It's just like, broken with multi-shot for some reason. It does work with cluster arrow, for example. It does work with impale, for example. So I guess it's just like something weird about multi-shot. And once this effect gets proper targeting for multi-shot, it will get another slight bump up, but I don't really expect by all that much. So here in a speed farming scenario, just shooting forward is not really such a big issue. So you do lose a few multi-shots here and there, but you still got the rockets that, actually go and seek targets. And most of the time I am pressing forward with this setup here so that, you see it like, there's the odd occasional multi-shot that doesn't hit anything, but it doesn't matter all that much. In pushing, this is a bit of a different story where you strafe around back and forth and to the sides, and you don't always exactly face the enemies. And here, obviously, you do lose quite a lot of damage. But even so, I expect that a fix to the directional targeting would not really be much more than like 2 or 3 tiers of a bump. Again, your Unhallowed Essence multi-shot is just like so far behind that it basically feels like a scuffed version of God Demon Hunter. And that's really the sad thing about it. I believe that Unhallowed Essence multi-shot is considered to be probably the most Demon Hunter build there is in this game. It was typically considered to be in like the peak of mechanical gameplay requirements with like the extremely fast stutter stepping, targeting, dodging that you had to do on this build to be very effective. But even if you try your hardest, you are nowhere close to way easier to play builds like the God Demon Hunter, and that's just on Demon Hunter alone. Not even talking about other classes that have even stronger builds than some of the Demon Hunter builds. So in general, it's just in a deplorable state, and I think that on top of the seasonal power, to make this like really worth it, there also would need to be some massive buff to the Unhallowed Essence set. They can't really buff like the multi-shot items themselves, like the Yanks and the Demon's Legacy, because, they would buff Marauders way too much, unless there would be maybe some kind of like new effect that specifically works for Unhallowed Essence, but not for Marauders. I suppose that would actually be possible because of the sentry mechanic that the Marauder has. So this could be something that doesn't work with sentries, but it does work for your own attacks or something like that. And that would be able to give Unhallowed Essence the boost it needs to become like a viable like meta build. Right now, I don't really see that happening. I guess a short-term fix, in addition to fixing the targeting, could also be to just buff the seasonal power so that maybe it shoots even more of your spenders, or they are buffed by a certain amount. So if they like slap some, plus 300% damage of your triggered spenders or something on it, This might also help at least for Season 27. And maybe we could actually see some Unload Essence buff later down the line. Personally, I would think that a meta that has like an Unload Essence Demon Hunter or two as like a 4-man speed experience meta could be like the most amazing thing ever. Just imagine you run rats, but you actually play this with multi-shot. I think something like this could be incredibly cool. But yeah, I guess not today. Either way, this is like my 2 cents I have about Unload Essence Demon Hunter. It does get a sizable buff on this patch because of this Strafe Power, but it feels kind of weird with the targeting, so at least that needs to be fixed. And even so, it doesn't really have much of a purpose with the power level of other builds right now. Aside from that, the pushing playstyle is also not exactly any different from GoD Demon Hunter, so you can make like slightly larger pulls, I guess, because of the bigger AoE of multi-shot. And now you, for example, include the Odyssey's End. So you actually just play this like GoD Demon Hunter, shoot your generator to stack up the entangling shot. So you get a bit of a damage buff there as well. But you also have Vengeance downtime now, so you can get crowd controlled, you can be quite squishy. And you also don't have the movement speed bonus that GoD Demon Hunter has that makes it so nice and fluid. I did talk about multi-shot a lot now, but if you are wondering about any kind of other generators that you can use with this power, so I mentioned that the targeting is a bit scuffed on some of them. So that includes most of the chakram runes. That also includes like cluster arrow, cluster bombs. But the regular cluster arrow runes actually do target properly. For example, so does elemental arrow. So I've tried that briefly. So while you can do some setups that use a Crusader shot, for example, to benefit from the UE 6-piece bonus, and then you shoot those ball lightnings all over the place with your strafe. Yeah, while it does look pretty, it's also even less effective, so this is nothing more than a meme. I did try the cluster arrow power on the Demon Hunter as well, which funny enough leads to also another strafe setup, but that one works a bit differently on the Marauder Demon Hunter. So basically everything on Demon Hunter is revolving around strafe now. Kinda interesting, but I'm gonna cover that in my next video. So for now, this is what I have to share here for the multi-shot DH. So this is like the only one that really profits from this new strafe power. And yeah, even if the targeting is fixed, it's not really all that spicy because it's just so weak. So we need some updates there. Well, maybe like a direct buff to the set or something like that. And then this could be pretty amazing. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you tried some Demon Hunter stuff or if you have any cool ideas. Now's the time to share the feedback. So let's see what happens. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more Dig 3 content. And I'll see you guys next time.